So this is part 2 of a series, maybe a 3-part series of doing your own audit of your Marketo Measure instance or Bizible instance. It is also for someone who it may be new to the tool, maybe inherited the tool because someone left or you got hired and you're taking it on. And this will help you understand, how was this system set up and is there any updates that I need to make, right? So the next step really is the channels piece. So today we're going to cover channels and integrations on this call. Channels are what I would describe as buckets, right? It's just how information gets bucketed. And you can kind of think of the Russian doll. It's kind of the analogy I give, or you can give like if you're on the beach and you literally have a bucket and you just pour sand in it. You have little mini buckets that can also fit in the big bucket, right? If that doesn't land, ignore the dumb comment and just bear with me. So paid search obviously has AdWords, Bing, Yahoo, and other that bucket into this. Now, here we're just creating the information. This actually has no way of grabbing a hold of the data and pushing it here. All it's doing is just giving this tool the ability to acknowledge what you want. Now, the beauty of that is you can completely customize it, right? If you don't use page search in your business, and that's not a term in which you use, and you just use paid media, great. Change it to paid media, right? You can have complete flexibility there to however you want. And if it's not AdWords and it's, I don't know, Google ads, I don't know. You change it to whatever you want. Okay, so you have that ability throughout this. Now, this is a pretty simple one that we have. It's just a sandbox of what for the sake of the video. But you get the idea, right? And if you need to create something new, like a new channel, you just add the row. And this is a new channel. And there you go. And then you press save. And then you can add subchannels to it. It's very simple. The user interface is very easy. The next piece is the online channel. And this is really where the magic happens and how it's going to populate the data. This works as a waterfall, right? This is in our document, is in the Marketo Measure documentation, right? So this kind of works as a waterfall. If someone comes in, hits a rule on line 1, basically if the referrer and the data connection that we have identifies that it's from AdWords, we're going to push it to AdWords. For those that are just brand new to the tool and have no idea on how we do all of that, it's really 2 ways. We have an integration connection, which I'm going to get to later in this video, and the other primary way, which is outside of any data connection we have, is through the UTM. So if the UTM source is Facebook, right, it's going to then populate here. Okay, so that's and it just would run through this and say, okay, it hasn't hit any of this criteria, but the source is Facebook here, so we're going to push it to line 14. And that's how it's going to get bucketed. Now, again, you're going to see this channel is the social channel. Where do we find social channel? Social, right? And then Facebook, right? So I can come in here and I notice that my sub channel is Facebook. Whoa, okay, crazy, right? It's pretty self-explanatory in how those happen. If I create, the way in which you create new channels and things of that sort is if you download the original template and add in new channels here, but you haven't created those channels yet, it's going to throw a big scary error at you and say, hey, you need to create these channels first. I just showed you how easy that was. It's not that scary. But that's how that works. So what you're looking through here is, as a new person into the system, is you want to connect with whoever is your works within your UTMs, whoever works within your ad platforms, and identify, okay, are we still using these ad platforms? Are these the UTMs in which we're still in use? Are we using new UTMs? And update the worksheet. Okay, again, huge, easy, quick win for you as the new person, but it'll be really helpful for you. I'm going to skip offline channels real quick and go to the connections piece here. So the connections piece is what you see in those brackets that you saw earlier for the online. You can create these connections where I can set up new ad connectors and I can connect all these. If you see that these are not connected, right? That they're disconnected or that they need reauthorization or they're not connected with auto tagging, do that. and it's just a few clicks of the button. You might need to work with the ad team to get the credentials to get that inserted, or sometimes what happens is, someone left the company and no one knew that this tool needed to get updated with new credentials, because the credentials that were previously that are sitting on the tool are from someone who just left the company. So that email is no longer valid. That's still not used inside the system, so on and so forth. So just updating it to a new person or creating more of a global ID for that. Okay. Cool. All right. So that's these brackets here, and that's how it gets populated. Offline channels. Your offline channels get pulled in one of two ways. They get pulled in by your CRM, and they get pulled in by your marketing automation platform, or specifically Marketo Engage. We don't connect in any other MAP. So here is just the mapping, right? So again, this is not pulling in any data or anything like that, but you just want to make sure if you are using telemarketing, let's say, you have a third party which does telemarketing for you, and they push leads over through a Salesforce campaign, and this is currently marked as other. Well, any touch point that's generated off of that is going to get bucketed into other, which is really hard to understand attribution, right? If you're just looking at a channel called other. So you want to go in and then optimize all of these, right? When you're like, hey, attribution guide, there's not telemarketing on here. What do I do? Great question. Thanks for asking, right? You go to create channels, you come down here, you type in telemarketing. And then I save. I go to offline, come here. What magic. Super easy stuff, right? So that's how all that happens. You would just go down and then press save, and then you would have that there. We talked about connections real quick. You can connect your Marketo Engage to this as well as your Salesforce. You just want to make sure like this one's disconnected at this time, so you want to connect that one. Make sure your ads are connected there. This isn't. We'll get into this at a later time, but just for initial audit and things of that sort, I just really wouldn't focus too much on that. Domains, you see that this domain is turned off. You'll want to activate your domain. If it's invalid, you will have to work with the team that helps, like probably IT, with the DNS setup, things of that sort. Plenty of documentation online with that. Don't really need to touch anything here. These are usually preset. You don't need to really enable anything or disable anything. And same thing with this right now. If for initial audit purposes and just engagement of trying to understand the tool, wouldn't really focus too much on that. All right, I hope this is helpful. This is part 2 of 3 within just the general audit of the system. Again, leave comments in the comment section below, and I'm happy to try to answer whatever I can.